Would you like to be able to make spot holographic cards like this? A card where some holographic finish is visible, but only where you want it to be. So it's not a full holo, this is a spot holo. So I know of at least a couple methods to do this, and I'm going to show you a cheap way, and then I'm going to show you my current way. Right, so first of all, the material. So you're going to get your holographic material. In this case, I'm going to use a piece of cardstock that already has a holographic layer on it. And then you're going to need a clear printable sheet, and I would suggest you use Inkjet as your top layer. If you use laser, it will chip when you cut it, unless you laminate it before you cut it. So you can see here, it's just clear. And obviously what you're going to notice first of all is that I'm not using a big sheet. So I don't do 9 cards at a time. When I'm doing holographic cards, especially these specialty spot holo cards, I use a 3.3 inch by 5 inch piece here. And the reason for that is just to conserve on materials. I have no need, to make a whole bunch at once. I just make unique specialty cards. And the reason that I don't make it smaller, like, closer to an actual card size, is just because 3.5 by 5 is the smallest size that I can fit into the machines that I print with while keeping it aligned. As far as I'm aware, you can't buy holographic sheets like this in this size. So I buy them in, full 8.5 by 11 sheets, and I cut them down. So you get 4 3.5 by 5 cards out of one of these sheets. So this is why you don't print laser print on the top layer, because when you cut it, it chips. I don't recommend it. Maybe laminating it or sealing it or something would help prevent that, but I've not tried it. And yes, I will be linking the materials that I used today. So the file that you're going to want to make for your card is 1650 pixels by 2250 pixels, or 2.75 by 3.75 inches by 600 pixels per square inch resolution, or DPI. I highly recommend that you put a border around all of your text if it's going to be white, because otherwise it may become indistinguishable from the holo in the background. I also recommend that you keep the design of the card, like the frame, the layout, separate from the artwork, so that you can edit the artwork on its own. And the reason for this is that you want to remove the color from the areas that you want the holo to shine through the most. Because Inkjet ink is pretty transparent, you can add some color, and I would recommend that you do it as solid color if you want to do this. So the areas of the hologram will take on the color that's in front of it. The areas that you want the hologram to shine through the brightest, leave them white so that there's no ink covering it at all. And this technique is called masking. It's pretty much just you're blocking the areas that you don't want to have hologram. Now, you don't have to do this, but I do recommend that you set up some kind of guides or alignments for the print file, just because it'll help you layer this on top of other materials a little bit easier. Depending on how complicated you want to get with this, you could be doing several layers. And the way that I do my guide, I actually cover the outer area of the bleed. So I cover the bleed. I just don't want to print it and waste ink. It's up to you if you want to do that. Alright, so printing, unless you are very deep into printer settings and setups and stuff, I would recommend you just you allow your printer to manage the color. Don't print with a browser. Make sure you're using a publishing software or an art software at least. I'm using Photoshop here. I like Photoshop. It kind of does a little bit of everything, but you could also do this from InDesign. You could use Scribus, which is like a free publishing software alternative to InDesign. Now, because we're going to be printing on a clear sheet, which is almost always glossy, just double check, but they're usually glossy. We're going to make sure that we select the right type of paper. And I like to use Plus Glossy 2 on my Canon printer here. And the exact model of printer that I'm using I'll also link. Of course, make sure you've got the right size selected. So I'm printing on a 3.5 by 5 inch sheet, like I said. And I also recommend that you just leave the color space in RGB, even if you're using a CMYK printer, one that's got, separate cartridges or ink wells for cyan, magenta, yellow, and black. Just leave it as RGB. All modern printers will just convert it automatically, and they do a great job of it. If you change your color space to CMYK and you don't know what you're doing, you're just going to end up with really shitty washed out colors. Now, if you're using Photoshop, there's a really neat, quick little trick that you can do to boost your colors and kind of like make the shadows darker and stuff like that. It's just vibrance. You just go to this little icon here and click vibrance, and then there's some sliders here, and I usually put it at like 50 vibrance and 25 saturation, and it really helps make it pop. So here's with it off, it's kind of brown. I turn it on, and all the colors get a little bit nicer. It can look kind of gross on a screen, but when you print it out, that extra color will really help. All right, so you're happy with all your settings. Go ahead and smack that print button. And here's my wonderful high-tech printer. It is a Canon G6020. That's right, this is just a regular printer that any consumer could buy from the store. At least a few years ago when I got it. If you don't have a printer yet, I do recommend that you get one of these with the tanks on them. So you just buy bottles and you refill them. All right, so it finally came out. Like I said, there's a couple different ways to do it. This is the low-tech way. You use paint markers. I've tried a few different ones, and these are the ones that work for me. So it needs to be acrylic. Don't use oil or water-based. And I have several different sizes here that all serve different purposes. So even got the jumbo one here. Normally, I'll just use these two, but it kind of depends how much of the card we need to cover with white. I recommend that you set up a white surface to work on so that when you're working on this, you'll be able to see the way that the artwork's supposed to look. See, if you work on any other, like a dark surface or something, it's really hard to tell what you're doing. So just use a white background. To keep it stationary, and be careful because this is adhesive on this side, you can take the wax paper that you've pulled off and stick it on there so it'll be easy to take off later. And then usually what I like to do is use something heavier on one end of it. So this part will be a little bit harder to unpeel, but that's fine. And now we have the exciting job of painting this entire thing everywhere other than where we want it to be hollow. You could do this however you like. What I like to do is start with a fine liner, and I draw the outlines of all the areas that I want to be hollow. I'm just going to speed this up for you guys because I don't think you want to watch 40 minutes of me painting this thing. But you can see some of the details here, like I'm writing where the text should be so that it'll float on top of the hollow. You're also going to see me do something kind of weird with the border here. I'm leaving some of it exposed and not filling it in because I want the sticky part of the clear sticker paper to still hold the border together. Otherwise, the card will just peel. Alright, so we're totally dry now, and we're going to layer this on top of our holographic material. So set that down. Put your wax back onto this. And this is going to be a trick for making sure that you don't have any bubbles, all right? So peel one corner. And stick your corner down. Then get another piece of wax paper and layer it on that. Get one of these things, it's called a brayer. You could also use scraper or a squeegee or something like that. I like to use the brayer. So put that on that corner, then fold all this back and grab that little triangle that we folded earlier. And then push this as you pull that very slowly. Okay, now we can see the beginnings of the labor here. So you can see that everywhere that we painted is not hollow. Now, usually what I do at this point is I'll cut my 2.75 by 3.75 shape out of here. Or at least I'll cut two of the sides. And I'll print another of the same size for the back of the card. And then I'll cut the same edge for the bottom and the opposite edge for the side. And then I'll do the exact same thing here. Again, I will peel one corner. I'm going to justify the bottom and the cut edge together. Don't need it to be perfect. I don't really care about the back. People don't make these or buy these to look at the back. Most people sleeve them anyway. Okay. And once again, a bit of wax paper here. Get that brayer. Well, we've got to cut it, right? So a lot of people have different ways of cutting things. The way that I usually cut is typically I will use this custom manual die press here with this custom acrylic block with a steel rule die inside of it. So, I mean, you can cut however you like. The reason I do this is because all of the corners are perfect every single time. However, it does push through the material, so it can kind of crimp the edges a little bit. And if that's something that you're worried about, then I wouldn't recommend doing this. Let's bring this into some better light, huh? Check that out. Isn't that worth all the effort? That is so cool looking. And it's aligned well enough. So you can kind of see the crimping I'm talking about. See how there's like almost a bevel around it? Alright, so now for the toner method, and this is the one that will require some actual investment. So This is a Canon image class LBP 633 CDW. There is a cheaper version of this printer that you can get that will also do this, but I decided to invest in this one because it can run PostScript. So why is this special? What's in here? The printer itself is actually not special. However, there are a couple companies out there making white toner cartridges. So you can see down here, the original black toner cartridge I've got. You just rip that thing out of there, and you put this white toner cartridge in, and it looks pretty unassuming. I actually think it might be a black toner cartridge that they just emptied out and put white toner into. Laser printers, when you put a new toner cartridge in, or you just, open it and close it, you've got to wait like, 5 to 10 minutes. Wow, my cat is freaking out. What are you guys doing? You can see that he loves this chair. So yeah, it takes a while for the printer to get ready to go again once you open it up. So just be aware, if you want to swap between white and black toner with one printer, it is a major pain in the ass, and it can cause several different issues. So these printers technically cannot receive big cardstock like this. I think the maximum is, I don't know, something like 190 GSM, and this is like probably close to 270 or something like that. So it can jam pretty easily, and my solution for that is to just peel this. So I just peel some of this off, and it makes it a little bit, sorry, I'm doing this with one hand, so it's kind of going berserk mode here, but another thing I like to do is I will scratch the holo a little bit, because it's often too slick for the toner to adhere to. So you just kind of sand it a little bit, and I just use some cardstock to do it. It just creates little micro abrasions that give the toner something to stick to. Then we load that sucker in there. Bzzz, num num num. Alright, so our paper's in there. It's doing its thing, but is it really that simple? Can we actually just print white onto something? No, not really. There's a couple things you're going to have to do to be able to trick the printer into thinking that it's got black ink in there. So you make everything black on your design, in your color profile, everything. Your channels, you make them only black. And then, because there's a white cartridge in the place of the black cartridge, it'll actually come out white. So I only know how to do this in Photoshop right now, so that's the only way I can really recommend it. And what you want to do is you turn some of these channels into spot colors. So for instance, you go to black, duplicate, it'll create one here, and then you can go into that copy and you can choose spot color, and then you make it the darkest possible, K channel only, right? And then solidity 100%. You do the same thing by duplicating one of the channels and doing a white spot. So you can see it's white and 100% solidity. So the only thing on your canvas is 100% black and 100% white. Other thing you're going to need to do is you're going to make sure you're on a CMYK profile. Make sure you don't have this selected. Flatten image to preserve appearance. That will merge all of your layers into one, so don't use that. So under CMYK profile, go to custom, and the only thing you need to change in here, these are all the default settings except for black generation. The default is light or medium, I think. You're just going to change it to black, and it's going to make everything that's similar to black, like on the upper darker gray scale, it'll make it the maximum possible black. You don't want to print any gray because that's going to result in it mixing the CMY cartridges to try to simulate black. All right, so now that we've got everything set up here, we can print. All right, so we've got our print settings up here. You're going to make sure that you have Photoshop manages colors, hard proofing, and then proof setup, CMYK. I don't think these other options really matter all that much. And then go to your actual printer specific settings, and under quality for the laser printer, for my specific printer, I just have a graphics option. I don't use any of the other stuff. For some reason, high definition text actually results in some like dog shit blurry text, so I don't use that. Under paper source, a lot of people suggest that you use labels as the option to print on heavy cardstock, but mine has an auto option. I just leave it at that. When I try to choose labels and stuff, it just jams every time. All right, so now we can hit print, and now it is done printing. The moment of truth. Yes. And now all that hand painting we did earlier is bye-bye. Don't need to do that anymore. There are some caveats here, though. For one thing, obviously, it's not directly on the clear sheet, right? So we're going to have to layer this on top of there, and it is not easy. All right, so I haven't perfected this yet, but my strategy has been to peel it on the long edge and then align that. So you can see I've got a white and a black guide here, and I just layer those on each other. It looks pretty damn good. So once again, let's align that back piece. And I know most of the people making proxies are used to doing things, you know, in a sheet of 9 at a time, trying to make a whole bunch, but what I'm trying to show you is that you can make, you know, a couple really cool cards if you put in the effort. And maybe when I get this to a certain degree of perfection, I will be able to do sheets of 9. That would be pretty crazy, but I don't know what I would do with all those. I don't really have a need to be making a whole ton of them. So I'm curious, which one do you think came out better? So this is the one I painted behind on the left, and the one with the white toners on the right. So this takes, you know, half an hour to make or so, and only costs, you know, a little bit of money, just the paint markers. They're not that expensive. And this on the right, you know, you can do it in like 5 minutes, but you need to buy a laser printer, and you need to invest in this custom toner cartridge. And another thing about using the white toner, so if you look at the sheet that I cut out, even though they're both set to exactly 3.75 inches tall, you can see that the white toner, it's not as tall. It kind of shrinks a little bit for some reason. The print comes out smaller, so you know, I need to keep adjusting it, and eventually I'll be able to get them to come out the exact same size. And you can see that the effect of it being shorter, there's a little bit of white showing up here. But by the time it comes down to the bottom, everything lines up perfect. It's kind of strange that it does that, but I'll just have to keep working at it. Yeah. There's also a third method that I won't get into, but you can kind of see here that it's raised, kind of has a 3D effect. So there's a few different ways of doing this, and you need a cutting machine. So you can use like a Cricut or a Silhouette or something, and you would just cut out your mask. You can use, you know, like adhesive vinyl, or you could even just use copy paper and just cut out the shape you want, where you want to block the holo effect. And it is really cool, but you can get a really bad bubble around the whole thing if the clear vinyl on top isn't stretchy. And I wasn't able to find a really reliable source for it always being, you know, this elastic and able to kind of shape around the edges. So I just kind of gave up on this project. It is cool when it comes out good though. So if you like seeing stuff like this, and you like experimenting and making, you know, fancy cards instead of just a whole bunch of cheap cards, you know, keep following me, and maybe share with me your achievements, because I've definitely not really fully cracked the code on this yet, but I'm really happy with what I've been able to do, and I want to take it further, and it would be even better with you guys' help. Yeah, I've made hundreds of these things, and a lot of them were just within the last few weeks, honestly. Anyway, thanks for sticking with me. I know it's a long video, but I wanted to share everything I could. Have a good one.